Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about Dynamo. Yes, Dynamo. Scripting for Revit. That is really important because if you know that when you're in Revit, a lot of the things that you do need to be automated. But here's the kicker, especially for my beginners. They don't tell you that you're going to have to automate all these things to be productive. You just think that, hey, I'm about to get in here, I'm about to do my thing, but sorry to let you know for my beginners that you need scripting along the way to automate the things that you do so that way you can be productive in Revit. And so Dynamo has two components to it. One is a visual scripting software. So let me first start by opening this up. So I'm going to do two things. First, I'm just going to open up a new project. So make sure that you're in Revit 2026.4. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go slow so you guys can see it. I'm going to go ahead and open up a new project. And I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And the reason I'm opening up a new project is because of the fact that I want to be able to see the information that I'm trying to do from the visual scripting side open at the same time that I'm doing the work. All right. And for all my beginners, highly important. So now that we've got that open, I'm going to go ahead and hit this house so I can get it to be in the 3D view. And I'm going to close this. And then now you may say, okay, well, now that I got Revit open, how do I find it? And the way you go ahead and find it is you go to the Manage tab right up at the top, and then you're going to see it all the way over to the right. So you got two different components. You got the Dynamo, which says visual programming, right? Provides access to Dynamo and open source visual programming platform. And then also you have a Dynamo player. And a Dynamo player, basically what it does is it'll take the scripts that you've created and create a player from it. And then you can push play and enact the scripts that you've created. Okay, so when I go through this process and kind of get you more involved into this process of what it is, just understand that you got two different components. They use kind of the same formulaic expressions, but one's going to be for an automation of the automation, if that makes sense. All right, so the first thing we're going to do here is go ahead and open this up. And the reason why I said you want to be in the Autodesk Revit 2026.4 because it's a different core engine for Dynamo. So make sure that you have that update with your Revit 2026. It just came out not too long ago. So check your subscription for product updates to see that information for you to do it, to follow along with this software. Now, I will be posting a link in my Patreon in the description, so that way you can go ahead and have the practice files to follow along with this as we go along. So now when you first open up the Dynamo, you're going to see a different user interface. And you're going to say, okay, well, wait a minute. I just opened up one, and now it's saying that I got another one open up. Yes, that is correct, because it is a scripts platform that's built inside of Revit, but it allows you to work simultaneously at the same time. Remember, everything in Revit is always going to be parametric, and parametric means that we're going to be doing things at the same time in multiple places. So in this case, we are going to go ahead and hit new. And now what happens once you hit the new, you can go ahead and click this open, or you can drag this to another screen. You are going to see the workspace. All right. And then what you're going to see is, okay, well, what am I seeing? Right now, you're going to see a blank empty space. And then you're going to look at the canvas. That's what this is called here. And then you're going to look over here to the left, and these are going to be your basic understanding of the different inputs to your visual scripting software. So as you can see here, you're going to see that if you open up any of these, it's going to say dictionary, and don't worry about it. I will show you how to use all these different functions. As you click and you look at some of these, it'll tell you kind of the ins and outs where it talks about, it says produces a dictionary with supply keys and values. None of this is going to make sense just yet, but trust me, I got you. All right, so all you're seeing right now on this side over here is all we call functions and actions that we're going to use with our scripting, okay? And so each one of these do something specifically different. So in this case, look, geometry. That means that I'm going to go ahead and create geometry based upon what it is I'm going to do. And so that's what this tab is. So like, for instance, if I go ahead and I say, hey, I want to go to solids. If I click on solids, there you go. If I click on anything else, let's go ahead and say a cone. Look, now it's going to give me different shapes of things that I can go ahead and create inside of Revit. This may be good for massing, okay? Doing massing studies and creating different shapes. Sometimes we use Dynamo. Sometimes we use Rhino, or we have another plugin sometimes where we call it Rhino. So it combines the best of Rhino and Dynamo to create complex geometries that we can utilize for Revit. Okay, especially hard to do shapes. So as you can see here in these dashboards, this is what this looks like over here. So with that being said, you now see just kind of, okay, these are different actions and functions. And even if I hit the plus symbol, right, I can drag and drop all these different informations over here. And if I highlight this, the good thing about any of the functions that we see here is you'll see that it tells you, say, hey, this one here creates a cone with a base point and coordinate system, or it's an extending in the coordinate system z-axis direction, length, amount with a circular base. So it kind of gives you a little bit of what it does, but don't worry, I'm gonna go ahead and go further through it. So that's just the interface over here, import, export, as you can see here. So this case, this could be for, the web, images, geometry, file systems, data. Look at this one. You see how it says, hey, this is an import export for CSV file. So now you can bring in different information to bring into Revit. Now, if you're still watching this video and you haven't subscribed, oh, we got a problem. In order for me to keep dropping these jewels and these gems for this transformation, I need you to like, subscribe, and share. All right, let's get back to the video. To functions for schedules, right? It's a lot of different imports and exports that you want to be able to understand how to utilize Dynamo. It's really, really important, but we always got to go over the basics first. So just showing you this list, I use it all the time. All right. Then you got Revit. And see, here's the different functions in Revit. Here's saying views. Okay. It's saying filters. All right. Eyes. So a lot of different animals that you want to do. So the first thing that I like to do when I'm in a project is very important. I just wanted to show the user interface to go around it because this is so important. Before we go into everything that we want to go through, you need to understand what this stuff is. All right. Now we're going to go down here to look where it says add-ons. And we're going to see, okay, hey, this is still connection. So they have some kind of out there that they can use for add-ons as well. Now, really important. If you can look down here at the bottom, you'll see something that says automatic and it says run complete or manual. Now, what I like to do is I like to shift mine to say manual. And the reason I want to do that is because I don't want this to run every time I do or bring something in as an action. Okay, so I want to run the actions based upon when I want to versus when if it's on automatic, it will run the actions already. Now that is something super important. So I just want to make sure we're clear on that. Now clearly look, in this aspect, you'll see here it says Dynamo. Remember we were talking about the different updates. You're always going to get different updates, but I want you to also see when I clicked over here where it says Dynamo, I'm going to go slower. Is that if I click here and I do about, now you'll go ahead and see it says Core 3.6, Dynamo Revit 3.61. These are very, very important numbers because the different Dynamos, if you're not dealing with the most up-to-date Dynamo, you may not be using a certain amount of script that'll actually work in this version. And so it's very, very important to know which one you're in and also just where to locate it. All right, next thing over here, you'll see it'll say, hey, file. So this is where I can bring in other workspaces, custom nodes, anything that I've created before. This is where I can bring all this custom bases. I can save. I can import library. Also to look, I can export. I can export a background. I can export this model to STL to be in something else. I can do a lot of different things with this. Same thing with here. The normal basic functions, as you can see here, you see the different hotkeys that's associated with it. I highly stress to understand the hotkeys as we go through this process as a beginner, so that way you know that you can move faster. Nothing in the software will make it move faster than understanding hotkeys based upon what it is. Now, when you're using Dynamo, all this is going to be using different Python scripts that are in a common language that you can use what we call visual scripting. So these things we call nodes. Okay, so here, once we get to this point, I go to user interface. I'll show you everything else. Now we've got the zoom, pan, show console, connectors, okay, background preview, okay. And as you can see, it shows little helpers. This is just kind of just showing this part, just understanding the user interface. Then the next one, this is called packages. Let me go here to packages so you guys can see what that actually means. Well, packages, what that means is there may be predetermined scripts that are already built that you can download and install into your Dynamo for certain things. Like for instance, I use one all the time called Clockwork. All right. And so what the Clockwork is a different Dynamo script that I've always used to do simple functions that have already been created before. So if I go here to info, look what it'll tell me. It says clockwork. It'll give me all the info to show me everything, everyone that's been updated, and it'll tell you the description of what's in here. So in this case, clockwork is a collection of 450 custom modes that contains many Revit related nodes, but also a lot of nodes for various other purposes, such as list management, mathematical operations, string operations, geometric operations, planes, points, surfaces, UVs, vectors, and paneling. So this is really dope. And so the good thing about these different packages and understanding what they do, it basically says, okay, you know what? Somebody already created a function for you that may already be scripted. So like what here, let me go back one and now go to the actual function for you. So let's do CSV or no, 3D room names. 3D room names. See what comes up. All right, just if you want to do certain things to see, okay, let's do Navisworks. All right, so look, there you go. If you just type it into different names, you can see, hey, did somebody create something already for a different package that I can install? And if they did, it says Navisworks create search set. So then if I go to info again, look, it says create rules required for Navisworks search sets. All right, so like I said before, same thing, export CSV files from Navisworks. So it's a lot of different things that you could type in here to see if something's already been created. You know, I could say room names. Look, there you go. Room number from level. Okay, room equipment. So a lot of right rooms to doors. So a lot of different MEP in rooms, switch room, space by room. So a lot of different information, just floors by room. So if you want to go ahead and that's already created. So if you bring these in and you install these, what we call nodes and these packages, then you can do that. Now, if you created your own, here you go. You can publish your own package after you've created the different nodes and everything else. So it's really important to understand what you can do. And right now off the bat, if you want to also see what's already a part of your Dynamo from the start, look, it's telling you, hey, if you got a generative design package already in here, you got a generative design extension, Dynamo player extension. Okay, so it's just showing you that you got a couple packages that's already come in built in. And so that's just good to know exactly what it is. All right, so that's how you can bring in different workspaces. All right, and you can see here's the ones we were talking about from a creative study, explore options, and that's just more of like on the massing. And then also too, you'll see where it says extensions. And so if you want to go ahead and show graphs, show extensions or workspace references, you can do that. And also too, if you want to export any views from here, you can do the workspace, you can do the background preview. And then also over the right, you see two different things. You can see the nodes if you want to, that's what's highlighted over here. And you can see this portion over here, which is just the geometry by itself. And that way you can turn off the nodes. And what I mean by that is, let me go ahead and just run a node for you so you guys can see. My favorite node that I love to do all the time is called the watch node. So now I can just go say, hey, look, I can just type that in and you see how it's disappeared right now? But watch this. As soon as I hit this, there is the actual node and this is what it looks like. Okay, so I can just type in the search and then I can bring in certain things that I want based upon that. And it'll bring me back to the different nodes that I can bring in here. So because I've used obviously Dynamo before and I'm trying to make sure you guys learn how to use Revit, I'm really just trying to go over to basically the user interface so you guys just kind of know what the workspace is before we really get started. This is really important because before we can actually go into the meat and potatoes of everything, you need to understand the functions of everything. And then when we're done, as you can see over here, we've got the save, we got open folders, all right? And then we can also hit new when we're in here. And last but not least, if you ever need help, these are also the different instructions that can help you as far as learning the information. So look, we got sample files, so basics, okay, cores. So they'll give you basic files and stuff that you can do geometry. So they want you to be successful. So they'll go ahead and give you different ones, like for instance, it says import, export. And so you can get information about how to do some of these different things already here from a help standpoint, because it's not easy. It's really not easy. So if we go in here, same thing with Revit, you see this right here, different components, different points. Look, it says Revit floors for framing. If I go and just click on that, let me just say here, we'll just go away from here just for a minute. It says, would you like to save and say no? We'll come back, but what's going to happen is it's going to give you another interface just to go ahead and see what the node structure looks like. As you can see right here, this is what we call a clean Dynamo scripting. What we mean by that is, and what the next videos are going to show, or the next extensions of this video is going to show like, hey, what are these? How do I organize? Because you just can't just put nodes in here. What do these strings mean? How do I do with these inputs? What are these? Look, but if the more organized you are, as you're setting up all these different, we call nodes and diagrams on this graph, you'll start to see how it makes sense, because now if somebody comes behind you, they'll need to see these different things, what it's called. Here's a description. And so that when you start to go ahead and bring all this information in, what is it doing? Like floor by outline, type and level, structural framing. And so all this is here to really, really help you understand what this looks like. But this is just an introduction of the Dynamo and the powerfulness that it has. And I want to make sure that you guys are starting off on the right foot, understanding the user interface, what goes along with it, how do we access different nodes when we start to bring them in here, and how do we function to connect them to the other nodes, because it's really, really important. Okay. And the next video is coming up. We're going to go ahead and create nodes from scratch and follow along. And I'll make sure I have the links to the practice files and everything that'll be with my Patreon. So guys, I really, really stress the importance of following along while we're doing this, because this is extremely, even for a beginner, pretty difficult, but I'm going to try to break this down. Okay. Peace.